definitely document and share this with the world. Because if you don't, that's being selfish. Welcome to the Kingspiration Podcast. This is the place where you'll learn how to get unstuck and gain momentum in your life and business. Each week, we tackle the real aspects of entrepreneurship, personal development, relationships, and fitness. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures, sharing wisdom and experiences to propel you forward. Welcome to Kingspiration. Let's start the conversation.
All right, so Justin, you have something big coming up that you actually shared on this podcast last year, some episodes ago, and you introduced me to the term, is it Misogi? Is that right?
Misogi, that's it.
Right. So you have a milestone birthday coming up. And for your Misogi, which is like your hard thing, and which you could talk more about if you want to like reintroduce that, because I don't remember the exact definition, but you are apparently going to run 10 marathons back to back for 10 days. Is that right?
That is right. So
wow.
I don't know how I feel about it. I was saying to you a little bit earlier, the body's feeling okay at the moment off the back of the training that I've done, but it's certainly going to be a milestone and a hurdle to get over. So I turn 40 on the 5th of February, and the idea is to head off on these, I'm going to call it an adventure. I'm calling it the big birthday run. The big birthday run to celebrate my 40th. And as you said, the plan is to run 10 marathons in 10 days. And I've mapped a route starting just outside of Cape Town and further down along the coast heading east here in South Africa. And I'll end up covering about 425 kilometers point to point as I'm going through these 10 marathons. And yeah, the idea was born off the back of the principle of Misogi. And Misogi was traditionally a Japanese cleansing ritual, but I first heard Jesse Itzler speaking about Misogi. And he has changed it slightly, and he's positioned it as a Misogi as being, he challenges everyone to do one really physically hard thing every single year. Every year of your life, you should do one really challenging thing physically that in theory you probably shouldn't complete. What is really going to challenge you? And for some people, that could be a 3-kilometer run, a 10-kilometer run. I've been running for a while now, 6 months or so, and completed a marathon last year. And I really set my sights to trying to complete something that right now sounds a little bit crazy, but I'm looking forward to it.
That wasn't your first marathon last year, was it?
It wasn't my first marathon, no. I've done, it was my third, and I've done one other ultra run probably 2 or 3 years ago, an ultra marathon, which was just under 60 kilometers, the Two Oceans Marathon here in Cape Town. So like I've dabbled in running for the last three, let's call it 3 years, a little on and off, but have done some. So I'm not going into this run completely cold, but at the same time, probably not having run consistently for at least 12 to 18 months, which is more than likely what I should have done. But hey, if it's not going to, it's got to be a challenge, right? So that's the idea.
So my question is, and I'm sure you'll keep us updated, and we'll definitely keep our listeners updated on your progress. But my question is, how do you plan to leverage this as far as content for your brand? Because you are very active on LinkedIn, and you have a bunch of followers, and you have a personal brand. So how do you plan to leverage this? Because it's a major thing that you're doing in your life. So have you thought about that?
I haven't thought about it as much as I should have. I think partly because I've probably been nervous to do it from the point of view that I struggle to do the humble brag. I struggle to do the self-promotion because I very often feel like it's more brag than anything else. And it's something that I'm actually wanting to work on in 2025. I ended 2024 with a LinkedIn post about kind of being able to brag about oneself a little bit. So going into 2025, it's definitely a focus. The other reason I haven't really thought too much about how to leverage it for my brand is I'm doing it for a lot, really just personal reasons. When I came up with the idea of doing this Misogi, I wasn't sitting there thinking, right, what is the thing that I could do that would catch most people's attention in order to, I came up with something that I was like, what is really going to push me as a human, as a person, as an individual? What is going to take me to some dark places? What is going to be enjoyable? Probably for the first day, maybe the first 2 days, and then thereafter be pretty hard work. And this run and the adventure of the run is what came up for me. So the real intention around it is to learn about myself. And that's been the big focus. I've had a few people that have said to me, well, Justin, shouldn't you be running for charity or something along those lines as well? And I mean, it would be wonderful to attach it to a charity, but again, it wasn't the intention of coming up with the run. And I felt it would almost be a bit cheeky, although a nice check to charity, whether your intention for doing it was to raise funds or for another reason. I suppose money's all worth it at the end of the day. But I've been very focused on the fact that this is a personal endeavor, a personal challenge that's about really finding out about myself. Having said that, as you said, trying to build on my personal brand and trying to really double down in 2025 on speaking as well. It is a prime opportunity to leverage this in a really, really good way that hopefully can improve my presence, get people seeing some of the things that I'm doing, maybe speaking about it, and also mention to you, and again, I feel like it sounds so cheesy when I say it, but if there's an opportunity that this kind of thing could inspire somebody to taking action or inspire somebody to looking and figuring out, well, what is my Misogi for the year and really actioning it. I mean, I'd be pretty stoked about that if the outcome of people seeing me doing this was actually starting to believe, okay, well, if Justin can do that, then geez, for me to do X, Y, and Z, it's not too much of a stretch either. And I've really been liking the thought of that. So right now, haven't got a real plan in place to leverage it, but it's percolating because I need to.
Yeah. Well, I would say this, and I want to challenge the whole notion of bragging. And I know some of that may be cultural, and you and I have talked before how, culturally, South Africans are a lot more humble than us brash, bold Americans, right? Who brag all the time.
Indeed.
But I challenge you to look at it like this. It is a major thing. In fact, I'm looking at the statistics now. Only approximately 0.01% of the world's population has ever run a marathon, has ever completed a marathon. You're about to do 10 of them back to back. So that puts you in even a smaller percentage. And in fact, most people, let's just look at the amount of time that's going to take. Most people couldn't even sit still for 4 hours a day, 3.5, 4 hours a day for 10 days straight. So much less, it's not even so much about the running. Of course, that's the physical aspect, the physical component. But being able to even sit still for that long takes discipline. I probably couldn't even do that. That would drive me crazy. I would be so bored out of my mind. But what I want to challenge you on is definitely document and share this with the world. Because if you don't, that's being selfish.
Mm.
If you don't, if you do this, well, not if you do this, when you do this, which is a miraculous feat for you to do it, if you don't share your thoughts with the world, because you're going to learn a ton about yourself being inside your own head for 40 hours, roughly, we'll just say, for 10 days back to back. And you're going to learn so much. If you don't share that with the world, you're denying someone of the opportunity to learn from you and to be inspired by you. And it may not be inspiring to do the exact same thing, but how can they apply that to their own life? Well, if Justin can do this, then I can go start my business, or I can do 100 sales calls a day, whatever that thing is, to have the mental fortitude to pull it off. You never know what spark and what ripples of impact that might have.
Yeah, what resonates massively is, and we so often speak about it in our conversations and our podcast episodes, is just having a simple lens shift or a mindset shift around how you're viewing something. And what you've just said around, if I don't share it, is being selfish. That's really resonated, really resonated, because and it is. I mean, I started off by saying the reason for me doing this is to learn about myself. If I can share those learnings, and I don't have to connect the dots for everybody. If I can share those learnings, they can connect the dots in their own lives around what that means to them and what that might inspire them to take action on, or the belief that they have in being able to achieve something in their own lives, in their own businesses, whatever it may be, in their own fitness journeys.
Yeah, and I have this thing about the term humble brag, right? It's like you don't want to brag, you want to appear humble. So it's a little bit, people humble brag, it's a negative thing because it's seen as it's inauthentic, right? So instead of trying to be too humble or instead of bragging, just teach, just share genuinely what you're learning. And that's what you and I do on this podcast. I don't think this is a humble bragging podcast. I think we literally just share what we're learning along the journey. We don't try to like pontificate or act like we're standing on the mountaintop and preaching down. We're two guys on the journey, and we share a little bit about what we know. And even if you can help somebody who's along the same journey, even if they're just 2 steps behind you, then you're still being helpful. And if you come with a spirit of service and being helpful, then you're not trying to be humble and you're not trying to brag. So the word humble brag doesn't even apply when you're come at it with a spirit of giving.
I love it. Yeah, you've convinced me. My takeaways are don't be selfish. This is a wonderful opportunity to share and reframe it as teaching. It's a teaching opportunity. And I like that. It's not bragging. It's not a humble brag. It is merely you are sharing and you're teaching. You're living an experience and you're robbing somebody else of that experience by not sharing it. Because I wish everybody could be part of it. That's the thing. Even my own family and friends, because it's quite a distance. It's during work. It's during the work week. There's very few people that are going to be physically sharing it with me, which is a pity. So I don't want to rob them of the opportunity as well.
Well, we can't wait to follow your progress and to see how you come out the other side, a new man, and what new revelations you have.
Amazing. I appreciate it. Thanks for the insights, Ethan.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Kingspiration. We hope this conversation sparked insights to ignite action in your life and business.
We're on this journey together, sharing our challenges and successes to help all of us take the next step towards building momentum and ultimately reaching our goals.
If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit and leave us a 5-star review.
And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly conversations. Until next time, keep rolling, keep growing, and keep being inspired.